Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Got a lot of videos. Welcome aboard. Yvette Avery Herod is in the house. Welcome aboard. AVQ is in the house from Brooklyn, New York. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Where are all my peeps? We're kind of slow. I know it's Friday. But man, have we got stuff to go over today. I trust all's doing fine. I trust everybody's doing fine. Eric Hayes made it into the house. Let me see. I got a few housekeeping things I got to get done as I am talking to you right now. Anyway, why don't you tell me what do you have planned for the weekend? Are you scared? Are you concerned about it? Let me tell you, don't be. I'm getting more confident as I see things, as I hear things, as I watch how the Trump campaign seems to be falling apart, falling all over themselves. I'm feeling much better. Mr. Meow is here as well. Mr. Patrick Magner, how are you doing, my brother? Great to see you here. But yeah, it seems to me like the Trump campaign is falling apart. They're doing some crazy things. Hey, Kennedy is going to take over healthcare, guys. Think about it. No more vaccines for children going to school. Oh my God. Back to polio, back to measles, back to meningitis, back to everything. It's like back to the past, right? It is amazing, amazing, amazing. It's hard to believe that one can't see what Trump seems to be doing as sabotaging himself. But then again, if you're crazy, you don't see those things. Welcome aboard, Bruce Pollard. He says free today. Who knows after next week? Bruce, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Carl Cox is in the house. All right, let me start reading my stuff. Yesterday, Trump used the phrase, whether the women like it or not. Does that sound repay to anyone else? The New Republic, whether women like it or not, Trump's closing message is a threat. These words ring hollow from a man with 27 sexual assault allegations. They also contradict all of his positions on women and their agency. Trump boasts, among other things, Roe is okay with criminalizing doctors and wants to leave abortion completely up to the states, making large swaths of the country much more dangerous for women and the need to access abortion to stay alive. What kind of protection is that? It's a joke. We know it doesn't mean anything. The New Republic, cognitive decline. I think he's cognitive declined because how can you, at the end of your campaign, start talking about we're going to bring Kennedy in to do all the things that Kennedy is going to do with vaccines? It's nuts. Landslide, anybody? Because for people to go ahead and vote for this nutcase, they're actually finally putting their lives at. I mean, it's not only about abortion now, it's now about vaccines, it's now about pesticides, it's now about everything, man. We have, I tell you, I find it so. I feel like I'm in some sort of a crazy land or something like that because it doesn't seem real. It is surreal. Let's see. Good thing. Heard on the radio this morning a mother called in to tell her son being called to the principal office for doing good, staying on task. When was the last time you ever heard that? It's usually when kids problematic. This is so refreshing. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. If You get called to the office for doing good. I love when people do good. Unfortunately, guys like Trump don't do good, and anybody supporting Trump is also supporting the things that he doesn't do good. In other words, he doesn't do good. Okay, that's who you're supporting. Ouch. Patrick Magner says, meow. Okay, Patrick. Eric Hayes, per day, per Dave Ramsey, I meet people who made 30,000 a year who save money. I meet people 130,000 a year who couldn't save money. I want Dave Ramsey to show me that person, a four family person with $30,000, and please show me how they saved money. I want to see that. Dave Ramsey talks a whole lot of crap, and especially now, how can Dave Ramsey, somebody who talks about fiscal responsibility, support somebody that's going to blow up the budget? $7 trillion. He talks fiscal responsibility. Think about this. He talks fiscal responsibility, yet he endorsed Donald Trump. We're talking about Dave Ramsey, the guy who's going to add $7 trillion to the budget deficit, I mean, to the debt, as opposed to Kamala Harris, who is poised to put much less onto debt, the debt ledger. But again, consistency was never something executed on the right. Okay? Nothing executed on the right. All right, continuing. By the way, Eric, it doesn't have to be rice and beans. You don't even get a chance to get to the rice and beans when you talk about the necessities of surviving. Again, show me the budget of that $30,000 household and how they live and save. Write the budget for me for somebody living in Houston. Stop talking all the crap about this is how you do things. He makes money off of telling people what not to do, but that's how he makes his money. He doesn't have to produce a damn thing. Okay? Now, look, I'm going to tell you something. In my old life, I produced products after products after products. I paid taxes after taxes after taxes. And yes, now I'm an activist and doing my part to tell folks, take what's yours. Dave Ramsey claimed to give advice, but once you talk about supporting Donald Trump, it's moot. It shows that his advice means absolutely nothing, no character. All right, let's see what else we got. Carl Cox says Trump's mind is a dump because his mind is kept in a trunk. That's a good kind of, you try to rhyme. I see what you try to do. Bruce Pollard says no bleach injections. No, Bruce, we don't want bleach injections. Eric seems from Redden. Eric seems to be cheering Elon Musk talking about government cuts bringing pain. I'm guessing he thinks the pain will be worse for those he doesn't care about. Elon Musk asked voters to brace for economic hardship, deep spending cuts, and potential Trump cabinet role. The funny thing about it is all that pain is going to go to everybody. All that pain is going to go to everybody, including those who are voting for him. It's a shame. Anyhow, let's see. Welcome aboard, May Wood from Long Beach, California. And of course, there is Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas, and Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. I'm remembering my names, and Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Here's Bruce Pollard said only nuts will wait till the last day to vote. Yeah, you need to. Today's the last day to vote, early vote in Texas. I imagine the lines are going to be out of this world. Michael Ronan says, Bruce, until the pandemic, I always voted on election day. After I started absentee voting, it was much easier to do research on everything on the ballot from home. Yep. Let's see what else. Let's see. Okay, let me go ahead and start. Eric Hayes, ask Egberto tomorrow. I am very busy, right? A whole lot of stuff, especially election season, but I don't want to break my promise. So we have to have Ask Egberto tomorrow. So we are, in fact, having Ask Egberto anything tomorrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put how you can sign up for Ask Egberto anything right now. And let's see, where is it? Ask Egberto, ¿dónde estás? Pendejo, ¿dónde estás? Aquí está. All right, you can sign up for Ask Egberto Anything right here. There you go. I put the link on. Please sign up for it. It's free of charge. All right. Do you get paid for products and doing what you do need to mean steal? No, not at all. I think that's a silly statement, but it's okay. All right. The 5 to 6 hour wait times in Bucks County, PA, after the courts forced them to stay open longer when they tried to close polls illegally. Oh, madre mía, iba esta pendejada con ese loco. All right. As you guys know, and let me put these videos in order. As you know, Trump implicitly threatened Liz Cheney. He implicitly threatened Liz Cheney at an interview with the one and only misogynist Tucker Carlson. I want you to listen to this, and then we will take it on the other side. Here we go. Let's see. Para ver. Here.
And he promised to do it in 2016. He did it. He took away the right for doctors to save women's lives. Make no mistake, in states like Florida, in states like Georgia, in other states across America, Donald Trump took away a doctor's right to save women's lives when they are in distress. It is barbaric. Yeah. And it is the antithesis of a party that respects and values life. That is what he has promised. And this morning, he is promising more fascist, more fascist activity. We've shown it throughout the morning. Let's put the Drudge Report up. Obviously, a conservative website that talks about Donald Trump calling for Cheney's execution, talking about 9 rifles aimed at her face and shooting at her face. Let's listen to Donald Trump's own words.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
So let's put 9 barrels of guns shooting at Liz Cheney's face. Stephanie Rule, this is Donald Trump, the closing weekend of the 2024 campaign that a lot of people that you know and I know are saying, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Donald Trump, he won't do what he says he will do, when in fact, that's exactly what Donald Trump does. He tried to arrest Hillary Clinton twice, once in 2017 when his Attorney General Jeff Sessions said, no, there's nothing there. And again in 2018 when Attorney General Barr said, no, there's nothing there. In 2020, 2 weeks before the election, he tried to arrest Joe Biden and Joe Biden's family. And Barr, once again, said, no, those barriers are gone if Donald Trump is elected again. And here we see, just weeks after him talking about putting the military and the National Guard after Democrats, now he's talking about a firing squad for a Republican who is long ranked as one of the most conservative Republicans in Washington, D.C. Where are we on the final weekend before this historic election?
Where are we, Joe? Well, potentially classic Republicans are banding together saying we have to be done with him for good.
We have to be done with him for good. But guess what, folks? Guess what? After listening to that, the Arizona AG said, let's investigate. this may be a threat. And here we go. They are investigating this as a threat on Liz Cheney's life.
We have some breaking news, and Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding.
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said, we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County, is just bad.
You know, and Bram and I were talking, ladies, about the threat environment in Arizona. Bram, you remember this just the other day about, you know, what we mentioned earlier with the Wall Street Journal saying that election workers are learning war zone medicine, learning how to apply a tourniquet. They've had issues in Arizona. They had issues in 2020 regarding the vote. They had just the man the other day who was booby trapping political signs, who police arrested, found a cache of weapons in his garage. More than 100 guns in his garage, I believe, including like maybe it was a grenade launcher. So there are certainly some heightened concerns in the state of Arizona, and these comments wouldn't help. Simone, I want to ask you though, would the Democratic Party worry that it's getting into a partisan thing if the Democratic AG of Arizona is now talking about investigating Donald Trump for this? Do they worry it feeds into Donald Trump's own narrative, rightly or wrongly, that he's being persecuted and Democratic authorities are desperate to find anything to investigate him for?
I think the concern that you just highlight is one that has befallen many of the entities, particularly in our legal system, and the calculation thus far has been not to play into it. And that has left us with Donald Trump rarely being held accountable for the actions that he has taken. So I used to be a Democratic strategist. And if I was advising Democrats right now, I would tell them, do not allow Donald Trump's scare tactics to prevail. Because that is what he wants. He wants the environment out here to be such that you can't do anything to attempt to hold me accountable because people are going to believe that you're doing it just because you're a Democrat. When the reality is that just like, you know, people are always talk about, you know, no one is above the law. Our justice system is equal under the eyes of the law, regardless of who you are. Well, if that is in fact the case, please hold former President Trump accountable in the way in which that you would hold, a Don J. Trump walking down the streit for anything that he would say.
Yeah, and Donald Trump will continue to say it regardless of whether it's true, because the victimization narrative works for him, and it tells people what to think whenever these investigations come up. It inoculates him. He believes.
Absolutely so. So as it turns out, I think this is the way we should be handling. This is exactly how we should be handling Donald Trump. As soon as he says something outrageous because he thinks he's above the law, if it breaks the law of that state, hit him where it hurts the most. Because, folks, this is an evil person. And I think it's an evil that needs to be extricated, of course, the right way once and for all. Anyway, folks, if you have any doubt about how invasive of a woman's life how invasive these different abortion laws are, how destructive these abortion laws are. Because again, likely written by men, right? They don't care about women. These troglodytes, which is what you have to consider them, who get upset when you tell them, hey, ladies, don't forget, you don't need your husband's advice to go ahead. You definitely don't need your husband's advice to go ahead and vote appropriately. You don't. You can go ahead and vote your conscience. I want you to listen to what happened to this young lady, and then we'll take it on the other side.
We have some breaking news, and Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding.
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone, can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said, we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County, is just bad.
And Bram and I were talking, ladies, about the threat environment in Arizona. Bram, you remember this just the other day about what we mentioned earlier with the Wall Street Journal saying that election workers are learning war zone medicine, learning how to apply a tourniquet. They've had issues in Arizona. They had issues in 2020 regarding the vote. They had just the man the other day who was booby trapping political signs, who police arrested, found a cache of weapons in his garage. More than 100 guns in his garage, I believe, including maybe it was a grenade launcher. So there are certainly some heightened concerns in the state of Arizona, and these comments.
I am sorry, I played the wrong video. My mind clipped. Let's go ahead and listen to that woman again, who about the woman who had a problem with abortions in Georgia. So here we go. Sorry about that.
34-year-old mother Avery Davis Bell is speaking out this morning about what she says was a dangerous delay in care by doctors in Georgia when she had a miscarriage last month. Bell was losing massive amounts of blood, and her baby was not going to survive. But she says doctors were nervous about beginning the procedures to abort, and it could have cost her life. Bell shared her story with USA Today, which reported, quote, Bell said doctors grappled with when they could start the process of the procedure. It would take time for her cervix to dilate, but it was unclear to the medical team if beginning the dilation would be considered advancing an abortion before the necessary time was up. In a statement to USA Today, listen carefully, Emory Healthcare said, Emory Healthcare uses consensus from clinical experts, medical literature, and legal guidance to support our providers as they make individualized treatment recommendations in compliance with Georgia's abortion laws. Well, the state of Georgia is one of the strictest, has the strictest bans, of course, but due to Donald Trump, After 6 weeks, there are exceptions to save the life of the mother in cases of rape or incest and for medically futile pregnancies. And amidst all that, Avery Davis Bell was caught in the middle, and she joins us now. Avery, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning at this really important time. I know this just happened to you last month, and I'm so sorry. I'm wondering if you could explain why you are speaking out about your harrowing reproductive emergency, and what was it that you went to the emergency room for help for?
Yes. So 2 weeks ago, I was 18 weeks pregnant with my very wanted second baby. And I had a complication and been in and out of the hospital. And that night, I started bleeding incredibly heavily again, which I knew was a return to the hospital. And I went back. And at that time, we found not only was I bleeding heavily, but that my water had prematurely broken much too early. And the doctors were very clear that my fetus could not survive this and that I was in potential danger of losing a lot of blood. So at this point, this was a miscarriage. And my doctors were fantastic. And they assured me they were going to save my life. And they also made it clear that they had to make sure to operate within the law, within Georgia's abortion ban. And so there might be a waiting period, and they couldn't move up my operation until it was clear that my life was in danger. And this is because of the law that was put into place in the state because of Donald Trump's Supreme Court. So what this means was my doctors had to balance what was best for me in the moment with when it classified as being legal. And this is a place no doctor should have to be put in. And this is a situation I don't want any other person to ever have to go through. And that's why I'm speaking out, and honestly speaking out so soon. And when it's really still hard, I'm still physically recovering, and I'm of course still emotionally recovering, but I went into the hospital the same day I early voted, which was the only time I left bed rest between hospitalizations. And so I had to speak out now because we are in the middle of a decision point where we can go in one direction with Kamala Harris and have our rights restored and protected and elevated, or we can go in another direction and bans like this can become more common across the country, and more women and people and mothers of children will be living as if we were with 200 years ago, when many of us would have survived childbirth, and many of us would have died. And so that's why I'm trying to share my story, even though it's not how I would rather be spending my time.
And again, it is shame, right? That this woman, because of laws that men wrote, men that have no conscience, that her body is now in jeopardy. Her ability to have kids later is in jeopardy, that she could have died from sepsis, like we've had several women in Texas die. You know why I think Colin Allred is going to win? Because a lot of women are going to say, my God, if Texas's laws stay the way it is, it means that my daughter in Texas, if I don't have the money to send her to New Mexico, if I don't have the money to send her to Pennsylvania, if I don't have the money to send her to New York, she could die from sepsis if she gets pregnant and has a problem. Because we know the Texas legislature, unless it were to miraculously turn Democratic, that they're not going to change the law. So we need a Colin Allred in Washington, so that he can be a part of the Kamala Harris team to sign the bill that reinstates Roe v. Wade, instead of being done from the judiciary, being done as practical law. That is what we're talking about, folks. That is why these elections are so important. That is why Kamala Harris is going to win. And that is why Colin Allred has a good possibility of winning right here in Texas. That is why Sherrod Brown has a good possibility of holding on to that office in Red, Ohio. And that is why John Tester has a possibility of holding on to that red state in Montana. So, folks, let's be clear. You have a lot of work to do. For those of you that are listening to me in Montana, those of you that are listening in Ohio, whether you're Republican or Democrat or whatever, you have a lot of work to do. You must get these people elected to save your daughter's life. You must make sure that Donald Trump doesn't get elected, lest your daughter will remind you that you chose somebody who would have abused her, somebody who would have violated her. And you have taught your son that violating a woman, that raping a woman is okay. That's what a vote for Donald Trump says. That is what, if you are voting for Donald Trump, you're telling your kids, you're telling your relatives, you're telling everybody in your domain, it is okay for them to do the things that Donald Trump have done. All right, folks, I have a new subject. Beware, 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 beware. I have a piece here from a caller this morning whose mother was switched from Medicare to Medicare Advantage without her knowing. And believe it or not, it is legal. You got to listen to this. And then I have another piece that follows this that says, hey, another reason Kamala must get elected is to ensure Mike Johnson can't do and continue what he's doing that makes this policy fixed in permanently. Check this out. Today on my KPFT program, I got a great call from a caller. Her name is Linda. She told a story about her mother who got, without her knowledge, taken off of traditional Medicare and placed onto Medicare Advantage. And she had a warning that she wanted heard. I want you to listen to the exchange that I did at KPFT this morning. And after, I'll tell you what specifically is being done and what we need to do about it in the future. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let's go to Linda. Come on in, Linda.
Good morning. Real quick, I just wanted to say that I appreciate, I don't often get to listen, but this morning I tuned in and the gentleman that was talking about Medicare Advantage, and the purpose of my phone call is to make sure that I tell everybody, the ones that have traditional Medicare, make sure you stop and call and check. My mother had a stroke in 2019. She has traditional Medicare. I care for her and I make sure that she is not on Advantage. And something just told me to call Medicare the other day. And I called. And the woman was telling me that I was on she told me that, oh, I see your Medicare has been switched over to, she said something like a MMO or MMP or something like that.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And I told her, I go, excuse me? I said, no, my mother has traditional Medicare. I didn't change anything. This is what they're doing. And you guys may have heard this, but if you haven't, I want to let you know what they're doing is they are automatically opting you in. You have to opt out. I just so happened to call. That's how I found that my mother had been opted in. They hadn't even sent the letter out. When I finally got the letter, I had less than 10 days to make that change. If I had not called, I would not have been able to make that change. I'm telling everybody, if you're on traditional and if you want to stay on a traditional, you need to stop whatever you're doing and you need to make sure that you are on traditional. I also requested that she put a note in my mother's file, do not change her, do not ever switch her. I do, because she had the stroke, and then as she's 85, and as she go on through this journey, other things may come up. She's constantly having to go to the doctor. I know she would not get the care. And the last time I took her to the doctor, they said that she had a myeloma, multiple myeloma. At any rate, and so we have to go to MD Anderson. MD Anderson do not take Advantage. I would not be able to get my mother the care that she needs. You have a lot of seniors that do not know about this stuff. You have seniors that are elderly and ill. They don't know that they have been switched. And I'm just grateful to God that my mother has someone that can take care of these things for her. So I beg your listening audience, If they want to stay on traditional, believe me, you better check because you probably have been switched and do not even know it, and it's wrong. I just wanted to say that. And the last thing I want to say that, you know what, vote for whoever you want to, but it is not fair to try to convince people because I can have one thing that bothers me about a candidate, but there's a whole world. There's a whole United States, and there's a whole world depending on us to make this thing right. And my one vote can make a difference. My other things that I have a problem with, get the right person in office, and we can put the pressure on them, and we can deal with those one things. But that one thing, but your one thing can make a difference. Your one vote can make a difference in democracy. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Linda, thank you. And your call has been the most important call thus far. And I have to just say a couple more sentences about it. Thank you so kindly for bringing that up. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Let me just say this. Linda pointed out, and I don't know why I hadn't mentioned that before. It is very important. Make sure, because there are all kind of backdoor stuff that they put into the law that these Medicare Advantage criminals have bribed our politicians to put into the law that allows that behavior that she just spoke about, meaning automatically transitioning you. The worst part about it is that Donald Trump has come in to remove even further regulations. That's what they have said they would do. That's what Mike Johnson was caught on tape saying. I have the tape where he said they're going to remove all those regulations to open up healthcare to the free markets. So this is not a joke. So when I have no, like I said, I respect, as Linda said, everybody's right to vote however they want to vote. But I no longer at this critical time have the tolerance for others who will put the risk of most Americans at hand. It is imperative that we not have esoteric views of possible realities, but that we look at things the way they are. And Linda's call about Medicare, how they are attempting to take Medicare and automatically put you in Medicare Advantage, is an important statement that everybody must heed and listen to right now. Now, what they did, believe it or not, is legal. Here is what it says. With Medicare's specific approval, a health insurance company can enroll a member of its marketplace or other commercial plan into its Medicare Advantage coverage when that individual becomes eligible for Medicare. Called seamless conversion, the process requires the insurer to send a letter explaining the new coverage, which takes effect unless members opt out in 60 days. So if you are in a marketplace plan and you are in traditional Medicare, they can just switch you onto Medicare Advantage, go ahead and send you a letter saying it'll be done, and you have 60 days to say, I want to remain in Medicare Advantage. In other words, it's an opt-out, not an opt-in. They are saying, we are going to give you private insurance, and if you don't want the private insurance, then you can go ahead and tell us, and we'll go ahead and make sure that you only get the traditional Medicare. It is a racket, and we ought to hold our politicians accountable for this, because we all know that healthcare insurance already, the private insurance system, is nothing but a Ponzi scheme, a fraud that harms us all. We know that. We're trying to work on that right now. But even for the elder now, the elders, the seniors, the insurance companies in the past wanted nothing to do with seniors because insuring them cost more money. So what? Medicare came into existence to take care of that. And now that the government is paying for the healthcare with our 3% tax that we paid as we were working, now the private insurance companies want to mine that money that we earned. Now they never wanted the old people, but now they want them because it's now paid for, and it's a sure source of income that they get month after month, month after month. When I tell you the health insurance business is a crooked business, it's not hyperbole. It is nothing but a farce, a fraud on all of us And when they talk about parasites, these guys are parasites. They provide no service. They just pay a bill. We can have the government pay the bill, and we can forget about the 20%. If we didn't have to pay for the excess amount Medicare Advantage costs, we could afford to insure every single older senior citizen without even that 20% buy-in, and we could give them visual, dental, and hearing. Folks, we have to work very hard to ensure that the people we put into office will do this. Right now, Donald Trump is saying, we will go ahead and deregulate the entire thing. Medicare, everything. If you think your private insurance is bad now, wait till all regulations are gone. Wait till you have to worry about pre-existing conditions. Folks, we have to start waking up and stop allowing them to dumbify us and accepting the crap that they give us. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join. Absolutely join, folks. Absolutely join. All right. Let's see. Paul Fleming says new. A pregnant teenager died after trying to get care in 3 visits to the Texas emergency room. Yeah, that was reported by ProPublica again. Not again, a new one. It took these ER visits and 20 hours before a hospital admitted Naveen Crane, 18, as her condition worsened. Doctors insisted on 2 ultrasounds to confirm fetal demise. She's one of at least 2 Texans women who died under the state's abortion ban. That is died because we know of. That doesn't include the ones who, because of the law, they refuse to go to the hospital. That doesn't include the ones who try to otherwise get an abortion because they just can't get it from a hospital. Folks, what we are seeing here is the beginning of the, well, you know what. Anyhow, folks, remember that video that I just showed you, how the woman was thrown off of her Medicare and thrown into Medicare Advantage. If Donald Trump gets elected and Speaker Johnson remains in power, and we got to get Speaker Johnson out of power as well, that is going to be the modus operandi, because we won't have traditional Medicare. We'll only have private health care, Medicare Advantage, which means your body will be the profit center for corporations, as was said on the interview we did yesterday with Mr. Judah Freed. Check this out. Republicans are making a lot of mistakes in this last week of the election that completely surprises me. First, we have Elon Musk talking about Americans are going to have to feel some pain to get the government in order. Then we have Donald Trump having a hate fest at Madison Square Garden, where he simply, people look at the Puerto Rican comments that he made, one of his comedians made, but the action that he should really be looking at is what the comedian said about Latinos in general, about Black people in particularly. It was just a mess how they dealt with women. Some very unforced errors. And I don't know which men he thinks he drives to the poll by being troglodytes, right? And then, of course, today or recently, we have Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, coming out against or claiming that something big is going to happen when they go into power. But I tell you what, I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side, because this is what their plans are for the Affordable Care Act, among other things that they want to do. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
NBC News has exclusive reporting on comments made by House Speaker Mike Johnson, promising, quote, massive changes to the way healthcare works in this country if Donald Trump wins the presidency again. The remarks came on Monday night in Pennsylvania at a campaign event for a Republican House candidate. Let's bring in NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor. Sahil, what more do you know about this?
Hey, Mika. Well, Speaker Mike Johnson is reopening the politically explosive debate over the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, just 1 week before Election Day. He told attendees at a closed-door campaign event in Pennsylvania that if Donald Trump wins the election, Republicans will look to make massive changes to the healthcare system. He wasn't specific about what exactly they would do, but he made clear that deregulation would be a part of it. And when he was asked about Obamacare, he also took a shot at the law. Let me play you exactly what he said in this footage that NBC News obtained exclusively. Take a look.
We want to take a blowtorch to the regulatory state, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, these agencies have been weaponized against the people. It's crushing the free market. It's like a boot on the neck of job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers. And so healthcare is one of the sectors, but we need this across the board. And Trump's going to go big. I mean, he's only going to have one more term, right? Can't run for re-election. Right. And so he's going to be thinking about legacy, and we're going to fix these things. And,
no Obamacare?
No Obamacare. Yeah, the ACA is so deeply ingrained. We need massive reform to make this work, and we got a lot of ideas on how to do that.
No Obamacare. That part caught the attention of the Harris campaign, which put out this statement saying, quote, healthcare is on the ballot this November. Speaker Mike Johnson is making clear that if Donald Trump wins, he and his Project 2025 allies in Congress will make sure there is, quote, no Obamacare. And now Johnson's office issued a punchy response to the Harris campaign, effectively saying he did not call for ending the ACA and accusing her team of lying about him. A Johnson spokesman told me, quote, Harris's desperation now has her lying about Speaker Johnson too, when the audio transcript and even the NBC News article her campaign cites makes clear the speaker made no such comments. Effectively, what they're saying is he didn't call for wiping out the ACA. He's calling for making changes to it. What is Mike Johnson proposing to do? That is unclear. His office declined to say what kind of healthcare reforms he wants when I asked them, and they wouldn't say which parts of the ACA should stay, what should go, what should be changed. And remember, all of this comes in context of Donald Trump promising to replace the ACA, to finish the job he tried and failed in his first term when he attempted, with Mike Johnson's help, to pass a bill that would roll back the 2010 law. Trump has not offered a plan, saying only famously that he has concepts of a plan. Kamala Harris says that only plan is repeal. Finally, Mika, what's at stake? This law has extended coverage to more than 45 million people in the U.S., according to government figures, and that's because of the subsidies to buy insurance and the government regulations that prohibit insurers from turning away people with pre-existing conditions or charging them higher prices. That's why some Republicans want to turn the page on this battle, seeing it as a political liability. But Trump and their party's leaders might have other ideas.
Now, here's the deal, folks, and this is what I really don't understand. In effect, what Mike Johnson said about Donald Trump was sufficient to exclude Donald Trump from the presidency. He said, look, this is going to be the president's last term, because, he can't run again. Of course, he didn't say this is going to be his last 4-year term. He just said his last term. So it could be his last term until he dies. We don't know, because we know he wants to be a dictator that never leaves office. And that he's previously told folks that this is the last time they would have to vote. All of these things out of the mouth of Donald Trump. But here we have Mike Johnson telling people, hey, guys, since he doesn't have to run again, he doesn't really have to be accountable or anything. So he's going massive. He's going to destroy the administrative state. And, he's going to change it around. He's going to do all these things to the Affordable Care Act and other programs. But here's the thing, folks. A lot of people say, hey, if he goes ahead and can the Affordable Care Act, he's affecting up to 48 million people. That is bananas compared to what really would occur. If the Affordable Care Act is scrapped, the protections, one of the most important parts of that Affordable Care Act are the protections that it has. Protections that says you cannot rescind a policy. In other words, you cannot just come out and say, oh, we don't like you anymore, we're going to cancel your policy. You can no longer treat women issues differently than men issues. You can no longer go ahead and decide that there is a cap after which you don't pay. I mean, there are so many protections within the Affordable Care Act for the average person. Look, I am not fond of it because I don't believe health insurance belongs in the private sector at all. The profit from healthcare insurance is nothing more than a ripoff at best, but really a fraud because they charge you a lot simply to pay a bill. They don't innovate. Any innovation they do is to find a better form to keep more of the money that you pay into premiums. Remember that. Health insurance companies don't innovate. Any innovation that they attempt is simply for them to hold on to more of your money. And here we are after over a decade of successfully having this new healthcare system, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Once more, we have the Republicans saying, if we come to power, we are going to kill it. And then he tries to backtrack. But again, this was a private conversation that they've had with their people. They didn't quite know it was being taped. They didn't quite know it would get out. But it got out. And now we know that unlike what Donald Trump said on stage, oh, we don't really have plans to kill Obamacare. They intend to get rid of it. So, folks, do you have a pre-existing condition? You're in deep caca. Oh, folks, do you need Medicare expansion? Well, not even Texas didn't even take that. But think about what it's going to do even worse to the system. I tell you, these guys are telling you all the things that they want to do. They're so incompetent that they're not waiting to tell you. Donald Trump talks to Mike Johnson. We got a secret to win this thing, right? It is like a child that cannot control his mind. And then the people that he has around him doing all the wrong things. Folks, let's be clear here. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote to overturn the Affordable Care Act. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote to ensure that you no longer have the protection from pre-existing conditions on your health care plan. A vote for Donald Trump means that insurance, again, can be rescinded and that they can apply limits to the amount that they pay out. I mean, if you want to relitigate all those things that we have fought for so long to get a modicum of protection for the average patient, for the average healthcare user, go back and do that all again and throw it back to the private sector without regulations? Folks, we have to start reading. We have to start learning. We have to start listening. What we really need is Medicare for all. But until we are successful in securing Medicare for all we've got is the Affordable Care Act. And if you give that up, for whatever reason it is, by voting for Donald Trump, it's your life on the line. It is definitely your life on the line. Bridge MCP. Hey, Bridge, how you doing, my beautiful Bridge? Thank you for listening. I've missed you over the last few days, my sister.
I missed you guys, too. I don't know if you're still playing the video or what.
No, I just got through with the video. It's like, all right, she timed it perfectly because I would have had to put you on hold. Perfectly timed. How you doing, sis?
Oh, I'm all right. I just wanted to say hi and a couple of things I wanted to say if I can. First, Elon. I'm sure anybody who's educated and does research and pays attention, they know that he lied twice on his illegal immigration.
I didn't know that, actually.
Oh, yeah, he did. First, he came in as a student visa, never went to school, and they stopped him. Then he came back with his brother, lied again, and they stopped him. And then he finally became a citizen. So he lied on his immigration papers. Now, that's an offense, and you get deported for that. Now the DOJ is looking into it. So he's the one big on immigration, or illegal immigration, and he did it himself. twice, and he lied.
Wow.
So now
Wow.
finally the DOJ is looking into it. I know, and people don't know that. So it's
I
been all
didn't
over
know
the place
that.
in the last week or so. I know.
Wow.
A lot of people don't. It's been all over the last week and a half or so. But the DOJ is finally getting into it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, and Mike Rudnan probably knows this, there's a thing in New York called Proposition 1. And if Mike is listening, he probably heard about it. And what it is, it's Proposition 1 in New York is the Equal Rights Amendment. Now, they're updating it, amending it. Now, what it was is that, let me see if I find it. It now protects against unequal treatment based on race, color, creed, and religion. The amendment would protect against unequal treatment based on ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy, and pregnancy outcomes, as well as reproductive health care and
I
autonomy.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Protect women.
It's great.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
isn't it? I mean, but all the signs, you see them everywhere, those little signs in the lawn, all say Proposition 1, vote against it, vote no. And so I asked a question in our community site here, why does it say vote no? This is what it does. And just like the MAGA, I knew it was going to happen because I found out before I even asked. I wanted to see the reaction. Every single one said it's going for trans people and for illegal immigrants. That's what that's about. Don't let them fool you. I'm like, where does it say that? Please point it out. And they said, oh, national origin and gender identity and expression. I said, well, I'm an immigrant. National origin means me.
Exactly.
So it's not going against me, and I'm gay. So, I mean, gender identity, expression, I'm not identifying with anything. So there was a big argument about that. But it went further because I had a therapy appointment today, which I haven't been going because I really think I should report her. And I think I spoke about this before.
Yeah, you
I
did.
brought it up to her about this, right? I did. And I asked her, I said, what do you think about this? And she said, Proposition 1? Oh, hell no. That's about transgender.
Oh, God.
That's what that's about. I said, what? She goes, yeah, and illegal immigrants. I said, where'd you hear that? She goes, well, that's what it says. I said, have you read it? She goes, multiple times. I said, let me read it to you again. I said, tell me where it says that. And she pointed out those key things, national origin. And I'm like, but my national origin is from Belfast, Northern Ireland. What does that have to do with anything? And then she went on to say, well, you can't, and trans this. I said, why are you people so into people's genitals and their legal status? Why? And she tried to get out of it because she's not supposed to cross that line. But she did. And then she said, well, Kamala Harris is a communist.
Oh, God.
And I said, well, Trump is a fascist. She goes, well, there's a difference between a communist and a fascist.
A big one,
I said, well, she's not. And he is. It's overwhelming evidence. And then it went on to, well, both sides lie. I was like, well, there's a difference between lying. And like, if I asked Alexa right now, could you please name me all the Trump lies? She wouldn't shut up for 5 days. She'd go on and on. I mean, and then she said, well, Trump doesn't even know what Project 2025 is.
Oh,
now,
God.
This is a woman she's a PhD, 25 years clinical practice. She's about 60-something years old. She's not, stupid.
No, she's mentally ill. She's not stupid. She's mentally ill.
But she's a psychologist.
You better look.
How could you believe this?
You look. Let me tell you something. You better leave there. I don't give medical advice, but I'm gonna give you one right now. You should not be seeing her at all for anything. You should not be seeing her. She is a detriment to your well-being.
Virtual.
Yeah,
she is.
She's a detriment to your health.
She's out of her mind. I'm sorry. I just looked at the clock. It's going late. I didn't mean to, but I had to call in and say those things. And
well, look, I want to thank you for that.
Thing is killing me.
I want to thank you for that thing that you sent on Medicare, seamless integration, seamless. What do they call it? Seamless conversion. It's important.
Right. We're being bombarded by I get them 10 mail a day about it.
Right. I am going to be doing a show.
Anyway.
I'm going to be doing a show on a New York station pretty soon on Medicare and Medicare Advantage. So I'm in, but we'll talk later. I got to close the show out. So, folks, thank you very much for calling in.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
You too now.
Okay.
Anyway,
bye.
folks, please consider becoming a subscriber to our newsletter. That's a major way of funding us right now. The newsletter and our Patreon. But right now it's a newsletter or Patreon or PayPal. But that is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please become a paid subscriber. And you get to read all our books online. All our books online if you become a paid subscriber. Also, please consider going to politicsdoneright.com/support. That gives you all the different methods in which you can support the program. politicsdoneright.com/support. But again, if you could become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, that would bring in that constancy that we're looking for. So look, I got to get out of here, but we're having an Ask Egberto Anything. Just go ahead and sign up. Tomorrow it's at 11 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Central, 12 Eastern, and of course that means 9 o'clock Pacific. Mountain will be 10 o'clock. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please go vote. Today's the last day to vote early in Texas. Please go vote. But if you don't make it for early voting, please, please, please go vote. We need to ensure that Kamala Harris gets elected, in my opinion. We also need to ensure that Colin Elridge gets elected. We need to make sure and save our democracy. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.